Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Every time we hear the word Java, there are two terms that we always associate with the language Java, or rather the term object orientation, and that is encapsulation and abstraction. We all know encapsulation and abstraction as a concept. We've heard about it, we've learnt about it, but there are very few of us who understand how exactly is encapsulation and abstraction implemented in the language. Okay. So today, in this particular video, we are going to talk about a concept which actually goes ahead and implements the concept of encapsulation and abstraction. And this is nothing but access modifiers. So let's go ahead and understand what exactly are access modifiers, how are they used, and how actually they go ahead and implement the concept of encapsulation and abstraction. So let's get started. Access modifiers, also previously known as access specifiers, allow you to control the access of a particular member of a class or the class itself. Now, there are different kind of access modifiers which are available in Java, that is private, default, protected, and public. Let me quickly explain you the concept of all these different access modifiers with an example of a TV. Let's say you buy a TV and you want to make sure that you are the only one who is accessing that particular TV and no one else except you is able to access that TV. If you want to achieve something like this, you will have to make the TV private. So that's the concept of private members also of a class, that all the members which are private to a particular class can be accessed only within that particular class. Now, let's say you are sharing a room with a friend. Okay, even though you have bought the TV, both of you share that particular TV, and even your friend is able to watch that particular TV. Something like this can be made possible by making the TV default. So you can say by creating a particular member default, you can provide the access to that particular member to all the classes which are in the same package. So if a particular member is default, it is accessible within the same package to all the classes. Okay. Now, going further, when you have children, you can never stop your children from watching television, can you? Right? So, whenever your child comes to your house, irrespective of whether your child is living in the same house or not, he or she can come and access your television, correct? And access something like this can be termed as protected. So, protected access modifier is basically something wherein a child class can access the members of the parent class irrespective of whether the child is in the same package or not. Public, as we very commonly know, is something that is accessible everywhere. So let's say if I relate it back to the example of the TV, if I go and put my TV outside my house and I give its access to anyone and everyone who's coming, I can say my TV is public. Okay, so this could be an example wherein we understand the concept of private, default, protected, and public. Going further, let's go and understand how, if a particular method is there in a class, how can it access the various members in a class. So let's say a method in the same class, as you can see here, if the method is in the same class, it can access the private members, the default members, the protected members, as well as public members of that particular class. So it can access all members if it is in the same class. Let's say now this particular method is in another class within the same package. So the package is same now. In that case, it can access it cannot access the private members, of course, because that is accessible only to the class, but it can access the default, protected, and public members. Similarly, if I have a subclass which is in the same package, that can also access the default, protected, and public members of that particular class. Now, in case if the subclass is in a different package, it's not in the same package, it is in a different package, then it can access only the protected and the public members of the class. It cannot access the private and default members. Now, if there's a completely unrelated class in a different package, in that case, the method in that particular class can access only the public members of the other class. So this is how we can define the accessibility of the various members of a class, whether they are based on whether they are private, default, protected, or public. So you can pause the video for a minute and just have a look at it and in case if you have any questions, you can post them in the comment section below on this whole concept of access modifiers. So let's go further and try to implement an example and see how how this whole thing works. So let's get into Eclipse, and if you remember, we had written this triangle class long back when we had learned the concept of how to create a package and how to create class and all that. If in case you haven't seen that video, I'll share a link here with you wherein you can check out of how this whole project was implemented, this whole shape project was implemented. So in this particular class, you can see there are already two variables, a base and a height, and you can see both these variables are private variables. Now if you see here, I have created a few more classes. There is a class called as an isosceles triangle, which is in the same package, but it is not associated with the triangle class in any ways. So it's an independent class. So but it is in the same package. There is another class that I have created, that is a right angle triangle class, which is, if you can see, extending the triangle class, and it is not in the same package. As you can see here, it's into a different package, shapes. This is into a different package, shapes dot triangular. So now let's say if I want to access these private members in my class, in let's say the isosceles class, you can see if I try to create an object of the triangle class here, I say triangle T is equals to new triangle, and if I say T dot, you can see I am not getting the fields, the variables here anywhere. So even if I try to write something like this here, T dot base equals to 10, you can see it will throw me error saying that it cannot find that, and you need to change the visibility to at least package. Why package? Because since they are in the same package, you can, if it is not private, if it is at least package type, that is default type, it will be accessible. As you remember, here in the table we had seen that something which is of package private or default is accessible to any other class in the same package, right? So that's why it is saying that you at least make it package. Okay, only then you can access it, or else you can not access it in the code. So this is one thing that we saw, that private members are not accessible to a class which is in the same package. Let's see if it is accessible in the triangle class. So I can here ideally should be able to directly call, because it's the parent. If I see there are public methods there which should be directly I should be able to call them directly. I could directly say calculate area. You can see calculate area is directly available. Okay, but if I say base here, you can see if I say base equals to 10, this is not accessible. What is it saying here? Let's see. It is saying that you need to at least change the visibility to protected, because this is a child class. Even if it is protected, it will be accessible. That's the minimum requirement. So here if you saw, because this particular class was in the same package, it was telling me that the access has to be at least package. Because they are in the same package, it will be accessible. But here, because my child class is in a different package, it's not in the same package, it is asking me to make it at least protected. If you can see here, it is asking me to change the visibility to protected. Okay. Again, if I go to a completely random class and I try to say here, again, I say triangle T is equals to new triangle, and I say T dot, let's say I say base is equals to, again let's say 10. So here again you see it is asking me to make it public. So you can see for any particular class which is in the same package, to access the members of another class, the minimum requirement is that it should be at least package private, or you can say package public as it is sometimes called. If it is a child class, if the child class is in a different package, it needs to be at least protected, as you can see here. And here, because this is a completely independent class, not even in the same package, nor it is associated to the class in any ways, this needs to be at least public, as you can see here. Now if I come here and I say this particular class, isosceles class, which is in the same package, let me go ahead and say extends and triangle. Now if you see, it will ask me to make it, still it is asking me to make it protected, but even if this particular field, if I make it default, so if I remove this private, it automatically becomes default. So if you do not mention any particular modifier here, by default it becomes default. Okay, so here if you can see, it is accessible. As you can see, now the error has gone the moment I made it default, because it is right now in the same package. But still here it is giving an error. Why? Because it is not protected yet. It has to be at least protected. So if I make this protected now rather than default, you can see now it is accessible here. It is not giving me an error. It is allowing me to access base and set the value 10. Here also it is accessible because this is anyways in the same package. So when default itself was accessible, protected has to be accessible. But still here this is not accessible because it is not public. It is still asking me to make it public. So if you see here, go ahead and let's say if I make it public, now it will be accessible everywhere. Here definitely it was accessible. We saw it earlier. Here also it was accessible earlier also, and now it is accessible here as well. So this is how the various access modifiers work. As you can see, I showed you all the possible options here. When it was private, as I said earlier, it was not accessible to any class. Okay, neither let me just remove this again. So it was neither accessible to any other class in the same package. It was not accessible to child class irrespective of whether it was within the package or not. Also, it was not accessible to any outside class. Second, when I made it default, it was now accessible to class which was in the same package. Irrespective of whether it is a child class or not, it was accessible. Even if this would have been a child class, it would have been accessed as I showed you earlier. But it was not accessible to child classes which are in a different package, nor to any other class which is in a different package, or irrespective of whether it is in the same package or not. Okay, when I made it protected, we further opened up the access. Now this was definitely accessible to classes within the same package and to child classes irrespective of whether they are in the same package or not, but still not accessible outside. And to make it accessible outside, I had to make it public. So this is an example. You can see here again it is accessible everywhere, right? So this example shows us the various access modifiers and how they are getting used in different classes at different levels. Now in the beginning I had told you that access modifiers, they implement the concept of encapsulation and abstraction. Now if we know, by definition, encapsulation means hiding complexity of a particular code, whereas abstraction means that providing access to all those hidden complexities in the to the end user. Now the moment I make something private, I am basically hiding it from the outside world, and for accessing it, so when I make it private here, I am hiding it from the outside world. But if I still want to access it, you can see here I have made some public methods with the help of which I can access it anywhere. So rather than saying t.base, I can say t.setBase and I can pass in the value 10 there. This works. Okay, so here you can see that even if I have hidden my fields here, okay, even if I have made them private, even an outside class, something which is not related to my class, something which is not even inside my package, can still set the values inside that field. So this, you can say, is where we are implementing abstraction, wherein I am giving a handle to the outside class to access my field in a controlled manner. So when I made the class base public, I gave an access outside and it was able to use it. And still my variables are private and secure. So here when I'm making them private, this is the highest level of encapsulation that I'm implementing here. I'm hiding the complexity from the outside world, right? So this is how your access modifiers implement the concept of encapsulation and abstraction. This is it for the day. If you like my content, please like my videos. Comment below in the comment section if you have any questions. Share my videos with your family, friends and colleagues. And thank you for watching my videos. Bye-bye.